2 weeks ago, in episode 371, we spoke about 8 common colloquial expressions. And today you'll learn 8 more colloquial expressions that will make your English sound more natural, more fluent, and more effective.
Now you're talking, Craig.
Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, and if you are a new listener to the podcast, you're very welcome. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 50 years of teaching English between us, Reza and I will help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you, Reza?
I'm doing well, Craig. I'm feeling okay. I'm enjoying the fine summer weather, which we get here in Valencia at the start of the summer. It's a different thing by the time you get to the end. You're a bit fed up, but right now I'm enjoying it. What about you?
I'm enjoying it too. And in case you're wondering out there, yes, we will keep podcasting during the summer. So every week you'll get a podcast from us, although we might be laying on the beach somewhere while you're listening to it. First this week we have a voice message from Luis from Mexico.
Hi Reza, hi Craig. This is Luis, this time from Mérida, Yucatan in Mexico. Last time I wrote you to talk about food in Valencia. Do you remember? Have you already tried the super bonbon at La Pérgola? This time I want to share you that I have been living in Mérida for 10 months. My wife and I have changed our house to this amazing city, and you must visit here. The city has many interesting things to do, but nearby the city has many things as well. Incredible beaches, cenotes, and archaeological sites can be visited. I'm sure that you have heard about Mayan culture, one of the most important Asian cultures. The city of Chichen Itza is around half an hour from here, and it's one of the 7 wonders of the Asian world. So I'm inviting you to visit here as soon as possible. Besides, I want to thank you for your work before, during, and after the pandemic lockdown. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Luis. Yes, I do remember the message you sent us speaking about La Pergola, a bar restaurant here in Valencia that you went to eat there, I think, when you visited Valencia a while ago.
Yes, I know the place you mean, but I haven't tried the super bonbon yet, Luis. You've got me really curious now. Very soon, I'm going to go within the next couple of weeks and try a super bonbon there.
And if you don't go in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably be very close there because our academy is moving very close to where that place is, Luis. So there's a good chance we'll be drinking our morning coffee there very soon, at least from October, I think.
I'm glad to hear, by the way, Luis, that you're enjoying this new place you've moved to, Mérida. I've been to Mérida, but I'm afraid not in Mexico. There's America. There's
America?
There's America. I've been to North America. I haven't been to the rest of America. I have been to Mérida, but not the Mérida in Mexico, unfortunately, although we would love to go. I've been to Mérida in Extremadura, and I'm guessing that the Mérida in Mexico is named after the Mérida in Extremadura. It sounds like you've got a lot of things in common. You mentioned ancient architectural remains, the same as Mérida in Extremadura. It's where they have the best Roman remains in all of Spain. So that's a fascinating coincidence. You've got the Mayan remains there. Very interesting. Well, one of these days, Craig and I will see you hopefully down in Mérida.
Mexico is a country I've wanted to visit for many, many years. And I would love to come and see where you live, Luis, and also learn about the Mayan culture. So I do promise that when I eventually make it over to Mexico, I will definitely get in touch. Next, we have a voice message from Jose Ignacio, who has got a very good result in the IELTS exam.
Hi, dear Craig and Reza. How is it going? How is everything? I hope you're doing well. And first of all, I wanted to say thank you for everything. I took the IELTS exam and I got at 7.5 in the overall. And I wouldn't have expected something like that because I started with my process of learning English last year, almost from scratch. I didn't know anything. And I remember that I started with the listenings that were available in the Mansión Inglés webpage, and I couldn't understand the basic ones. And finally, with a lot of studying, listening, and reading, I was able to get that result. So I am very happy, and I think that all your podcast accompanied me during this journey. So I'll be grateful my whole life. Thank you very much. And also, I am thinking about moving to Malta because I think English is a long life language and I have to practice it, and I really want to learn as much as possible. And of course, I'd love to visit Valencia. So I was wondering if you would like to have a cup of tea or maybe a beer or something like that. It's on me, of course, during that time. So thank you again, and I hope you're having a great time there. See you.
Well, thanks very much for your message, Jose Ignacio. And well done. Your result, 7.5 in IELTS, and you started from scratch. That means from zero a year ago. Wow, that's fantastic. For those of you who don't know, 7.5 in an IELTS exam is equivalent to a Cambridge C1 advanced. To think that you started from scratch a year ago and you've got a 7.5 in IELTS, that is amazing. And by the way, if you're interested in finding out about the IELTS test or IELTS exam, we have a complete episode about it. It's episode 68, one of our early episodes. It's all about the IELTS test and also the American TOEFL test. So go to inglespodcast.com/68 and you can find out about the IELTS and the TOEFL exam there.
Yes, congratulations, Jose Ignacio. That's a wonderful result. You've done really, really well. And I liked your expression, I wouldn't have expected this. And to be honest, I wouldn't have expected in a year that you would get from scratch, as you say, learning from scratch to C1 Advanced, only from using the material on the Mansión Inglés website. Now, my question is, I understand that you used the listenings. I guess you started with the basic level listenings and then slowly went up the levels. But how did you get to the level of fluency and pronunciation that you've shown in your voice message? How did you improve that? Because there isn't at the moment anything on the website, on themansioningles.com, where you can practice and improve your fluency and pronunciation. There's no interactive aspect to it. So that's a question I'd like to find the answer to.
Well, I imagine from listening to the podcasts, that would have helped a lot, because if you listen a lot, it tends to help you with your pronunciation when it comes to speaking. So I'm hoping and I'm guessing that our podcasts help not only your listening, but also your speaking. But all the same, that is really rapid and impressive progress.
Absolutely. And moving to Malta is an interesting idea. I do know that on the island of Malta, English is widely spoken. So you will get lots of practice on the island of Malta. And I'm guessing within a week, you'll be up to C2, comparing your progress up to C1 already. And I liked the expression you used, it's on me. When you come to Valencia and we go out for a coffee, it's on you. We actually introduced that expression or practiced that expression 2 weeks ago in episode 371. And yes, if we can, Reza and I would love to meet you in Valencia. If we are available, we'd love to get together and meet you in person. So please get in touch if and when you get here.
As Craig just mentioned, Jose Ignacio used the expression, it's on me, a colloquial expression that we introduced in episode 371. That's exactly what we're going to talk about now. More colloquial expressions. So, shall we get started, Craig?
Yes, well, before we get started, I wanted to ask you, Reza, your opinion on Facebook privacy. What's your opinion on privacy on the internet, on social media websites?
Oh, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me going on computer, IT, privacy, because I have very strong feelings about it. If you say, don't get me started on something, or don't get me going on something, it means, oh, I have very strong feelings on this, so be prepared to listen to my strong feelings.
Yeah, I might say something similar if you ask me about Brexit. What's happening with Brexit? Oh, don't get me started. It's a very negative expression. I don't want to start talking about it because I'm going to become frustrated and angry.
Actually, Craig, there are people who have much stronger feelings than me about it. For example, I happened to see a friend of mine surfing the internet yesterday, Maria Jose, and I noticed that on her PC, her personal computer, it wasn't a laptop, and it wasn't an Apple, by the way, that she was using Mozilla, the search engine. And I asked her why, because she also had Google Chrome installed. She said, I don't like to use Google Chrome because I don't like the way they store my data. I generally use Google Chrome. And she said that for certain things, she avoided Google. And apparently, according to her, Mozilla don't store, or not as much, your data. Is that true to your knowledge?
I don't know. I know we have tech experts listening to the podcast. Maybe they can comment on that. My own personal opinion is that anything that goes through your internet provider is automatically shared and compromised and public. But maybe someone who's listening who knows more than we do could let us know about Mozilla software. But I'm not sure. I just think that anything that's online these days is fair game. If something is fair game, is that any social media site, any government, any internet provider, any advertiser can possibly or probably get access to it somehow. So my rule of thumb is a set of rules that I like to follow. If you want to keep it private, don't put it on the internet, full stop.
And Craig, what do you think about people publishing things like naughty photos, maybe of somebody drunk, somebody nude, or something like that, just for a laugh on Facebook?
Oh, don't even go there. Don't even go there. I wouldn't go there if I were you. Don't talk about that subject. If there's a subject that you don't want to get into, you don't want to touch on, you don't want to speak about, you could use the expression, don't even go there. Don't talk about that subject.
Yes, I must say I don't have much sympathy for people who post or publish embarrassing photos of themselves, note, and then later they regret it. Well, you shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have. If it's yourself and it's on internet, well, then you can imagine that there are people who are going to take advantage of it and make fun of you and maybe even try and make your life a misery. So don't do it, Let's not go there. Best not go there. Just don't even think about it. Remember, if it goes on internet, it can be there forever. So don't even contemplate it. Don't go there.
Reza, what do you think about speaking with your students in the classroom about religion?
Religion, probably I would say best not go there. For me, I'm comfortable talking about religion, but there may be students in the class who are not because they have very strong beliefs and they're sensitive. So I'd say it's best not to go there. Leave it.
What about sex?
The same. I think I wouldn't go there if I were you. I wouldn't talk about sex in the classroom.
And race?
Race, yes.
You would?
Why not?
So you can live with that?
I can live with that. So I say sex, don't even go there. But race, I can live with that. That means I'm happy enough with that. I don't mind. It's not a problem. It's something I can get used to. I could also say I could settle for that. Yeah. If you want to talk about race, I agree to that. I can live with that. What about you?
Yeah, I could live with that. I could live with talking about race and probably religion too, actually. Oh, by the way, before I forget, do you remember I borrowed 200 euros from you last month? Is it okay if I pay you 100 euros today and then 100 euros next month?
I can live with that.
Oh, great, thanks. So you're happy with that?
I can live with that again. I agree to his condition. So I can live with that means you're comfortable with something. It's not a problem.
So it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but it's acceptable to you.
If he says it another 3 times that he can't pay the money, then I'm not sure I would be happy with that. But to delay a little bit longer, I can live with that.
Lots of people are going through really hard times at the moment. They might have lost their job, they might have financial problems, and maybe they even have people they're close to who have become sick through coronavirus, or maybe they've lost someone who's close to them. What would you say to someone in that desperate situation?
All I can say is hang in there. Hang in there. Be patient. It'll work out. I hope everything will be okay. And I know some of you have had coronavirus and you've had symptoms because we've heard in the feedback. And I guess if you're in bed, if you're not feeling too well with coronavirus, one of the things you probably do is to listen to more podcasts because you got more time to do it. Hang on in there. I added the word on. Yeah, you can say hang in there or hang on in there. Be patient, just wait. Don't give up. Don't give up. Eventually, you'll get through it. Hang on in there.
So that's a nice expression you could use if someone's going through a hard time, you're not sure what to say. Hang in there. Things will get better. Just be patient and everything will be okay. Reza, do you know what the unemployment rate in Spain is approximately at the moment?
I'm not sure, but I'm going to say off the top of my head, about 12-15%. I think it's pretty high.
But there are no numbers on your head. I can't see any numbers on top of your head.
Yeah, indeed, you're right. So the expression off the top of my head means without checking or thinking about something. So I don't know the exact numbers and I haven't checked, but just using my general knowledge and from things I've heard on the news recently, that type of thing, I would say about 12-50% off the top of my head.
You're actually very close. It's 16%.
You have checked. Okay.
I have checked. So that's not off the top of my head. I did check. And you're closer to the unemployment figures in Argentina at the moment, which is 12%. But which country off the top of your head that listen to this podcast have an unemployment rate of 3.5%?
Well, hold on now. Countries that listen to this podcast, don't forget that we have listeners in Italy, India.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. I'll help you.
Countries.
It's a Spanish-speaking Latin American country.
Okay, which of course is the vast majority of our listeners. But we have plenty of listeners in Brazil and Italy and other places. But okay, Latin America.
So off the top of your head, which country has an unemployment rate of 3.5%?
The lowest. Yeah, is that the lowest?
I don't know if it's the lowest. It's certainly lower than Argentina and Spain.
3.5%. I would imagine it's Costa Rica.
No, it's actually Luis's country. It's Mexico.
So very low unemployment there at the moment.
Yeah, according to the website I checked. So if something's off the top of your head, you really don't know. You're taking an educated guess, an estimate. And you sometimes hear the word guesstimate, which is a mixture of an estimate, which is usually based on some kind of fact, and a complete guess, which is not based on any fact, really. So off the top of your head is without checking, without looking at any official figures or documents.
Craig, I know we haven't quite finished yet, but would you like a coffee and a piece of chocolate after we record this podcast?
Now you're talking.
I thought you might say that. What do you mean by that?
Well, we all know Reza's talking, but that expression with that similar intonation, now you're talking, means you agree very much with what the person has said. So if I say, Reza, do you fancy a beer when we finish recording today? You might say,
now you're talking my kind of language. You can add a little bit if you like. The basic expression is now you're talking.
Yeah. So now you're talking shows enthusiasm to what the other person has said. Now, something that will probably result in a bad or negative outcome or situation could be a recipe for disaster. So, for example, if you're studying all night for an exam and you don't sleep, and you leave your house and you go and do the exam without any sleep, that's a recipe for disaster. Something bad's going to happen because you're really, really tired. Your brain isn't working properly. Can you think of another example where you might use that expression, Reza? It's a recipe for disaster.
Yes, large crowds of people, no social distancing, no face masks, the middle of a pandemic. Put all those ingredients together and it's a recipe for disaster, as we know.
Definitely. Another example that comes to mind, me trying to be cool and trendy with my younger students, me trying to pretend I understand their music and I understand the fashion of a 17 or 18-year-old, that's a recipe for disaster because I'm much too old to relate to students on their tastes and interests.
Yes, I must admit, some of the fashion, the trends, the music that some of my younger students mention in class these days, to be honest, I just can't get my head around it. I cannot get my head around it. I don't understand what it's about. I can't really accept it. Like some of the music just sounds so boring, so synthetic. It's not my type of thing at all. I can't get my head around it. I don't know why they like it.
So when you say you can't get your head around it, that means you don't understand it. You can't relate to it.
I don't understand it, or I simply can't accept it. Yeah, they like it for some reason, but I cannot see the reason. I can't get my head around it. I can't grasp the basic concept which gives them pleasure. I just cannot do it.
Something that I can't get my head around is economics. For example, I can't get my head around the fact that it's cheaper to import fish to Spain and fruit and vegetables when we live near the sea and the fish I can see from my window, or there's beautiful fruit and vegetables in the same country. Why is it cheaper to import from the other side of the world the thing that's on your doorstep or very close to you? I can't get my head around it.
Try and get your head around this. There's a fair chance if you buy an orange in Valencia, that it came from Morocco.
Really?
It's hard to get your head around, but it happens.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. It's hard to accept that information. In the street around the corner from me, there are orange trees in the street. In the parks, there are orange trees. There are orange groves. That's a field of oranges all over the place. But we're importing oranges from Morocco? I can't get my head around it.
Don't get me started on that. Well, that's all we have time for this week. But before we go, we'll quickly review the 8 expressions that we mentioned today. So the first one was don't get me started, or don't get me started going on something. That's when you have very strong feelings. For example, don't get me started on the football.
If there's a subject that you don't want to talk about because it's very controversial, or because it's dangerous, or it causes problems, or because you're just tired of talking about it, you can say, don't even go there, or I wouldn't go there if I were you, or let's not go there, or best not go there.
If there's something that you could easily get used to and that you're quite happy with, you can say, I can live with that.
If you're asking someone to be patient, although they're in a very difficult situation, you're saying that it's going to work out, there'll be a solution in the end, everything will eventually be okay. You say, hang in there, or hang on in there.
If you say, well, off the top of my head, that means you're estimating something, you don't have facts or you haven't checked anything. It's just what you think at the moment or at the time.
If you say to someone, now you're talking, after they've commented on something, you're saying that you really agree, or you agree very strongly with what they're saying. You can add, if you like, now you're talking my language, or now you're talking my kind of language. In other words, I like what you're saying.
And if something will probably result in a bad or negative outcome, it's a recipe for disaster.
And the last one we mentioned was, I can't get my head round it. You can say round or around. The A is optional. And it means that you just can't understand something, or you find it hard to accept. You can't get your head around it.
Reza, do you fancy a beer?
I can live with that.
Now you're talking. We hope you've been able to get your head around these 8 expressions and that you'll use them to improve your colloquial English. And now it's your turn to practice. So please send us a voice message, say hello, tell us where you're from, and maybe a suggestion or an idea for a future podcast. You can reach us by voice on SpeakPipe. Go to speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast.
If you are still a bit shy, a bit timid, and you don't want to record your voice, you could write to us. You could send an email. Send one to me, belfastreza@gmail.com, or to Craig at inglespodcast.com.
And we remind you, you can visit our online store for paid courses and products. Go to store.mencioningles.net.
As always, we'd like to thank all of you who are very generously helping us by donating money to the podcast through Patreon. That's Patreon. Those people donate as little as $1.20 per month. The 20 cents is to cover the VAT tax. And as a thank you for that, they get instant access to our complete audio transcriptions of recent episodes. If you are interested in that, why not follow the link in the show notes, which is www.patreon.com/Inglespodcast.
We don't have time to mention all of our Patreon sponsors here, but we do thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We do want to say hello and welcome to the latest people who are supporting us, who have signed up this month, and they are Javier Lopez. Thank you very much. I hope you can live with the pronunciation of your surname that I probably butchered there. David Santana Rubiales, thank you too. Liliana Gayucci, thank you. And Pedro J. Estebanet, thank you very much, especially to Liliana and Pedro, who are donating more than the $1 minimum. Thank you to all of you. And what's next week?
We haven't decided yet what's going to be in next week's episode. We're going through your feedback now that we have time. We're going through lots of feedback. And from your feedback, we will choose an interesting theme to talk about next week. So you will be choosing next episode's theme.
And if you missed last week's episode, we spoke about intensifiers. So if you want to learn more about really, very, quite, fairly, etc., go listen to episode 374. Thank you very much for listening this week. Until next time, it's goodbye from Reza.
And it's cheerio from Craig.
The music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.